Off we go to the Viking village on the Dragonship.
Through the white thunderstorms, we ride on the back of our truckers in a fearless stride. Sons of gold, hearts made of fire, conquering lands, fueling our desire. Roaring engines and lightning in our eyes, united we stand. Strength won't compromise. From the east to the west, we sail every road with the Bauer warriors. Never feel alone. Landscape of freedom beneath open skies, the promised land where our spirits arise. We battle the storms and tides of the sea. Now we've arrived in the land we're meant to be.
Welcome, everybody. This is going to be fun. Again, another fantastic Saturday with the entire crew here on the Dragonship. I'm excited for this topic because if you couldn't tell, this is Legos and that's Legos. I'm currently building an entire Lego city and I'm having so much fun doing it. And I saw these parallels between Legos and dating and relationships. What is that? Well, essentially, you have to go piece by piece or step by step to get to the end result. And a lot of times, guys don't do this. I know personally with me, when it comes to my relationships, one of the things that I blew past was boundary setting. I didn't do that. And so I would get into these relationships and things would grow, but then there'd be all these unnecessary fights and eventual breakups. But then once I took a step back and started setting my boundaries more effectively, those fights just disappeared. I mean, hell, like I just had a conversation with my girl earlier, and it was probably one of the best conversations I've ever had in a relationship before, just from clear communication. So I want to focus today's topic on how you develop these skills piece by piece, and you can't just jump forward, which a lot of guys want to do. You know, a lot of guys, when they come to this space and they're like, oh, like I just want to get laid and I want to make it all happen, and then they get a little bit of success and then they want to jump all the way to the end. Doesn't work that way. So welcome to the panel. We have Thor, Viking Paradigm. We have AJ, the Detailing Viking. We have Paul from Come On Man Podcast. We have Mike Steele out in Vegas. And we have, of course, a God amongst men, Thor. How are you guys doing?
Let me just correct you. It is a slightly below average God amongst men with my primary piece of the tools right here. And I got dressed for you guys today. I got my new headgear all sported out for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So we're like ready to smash some of those Lego pieces here whenever you're ready.
I please do not smash my Lego pieces. This took a long time to build.
We'll make those fit together. Brute force.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're essentially just going to kick it off here with talking about, you know, I had mentioned for me, I didn't set boundaries appropriately, and I started to get walked all over. And it wasn't until I understood that I was able. Oh, hold on. This guy,
the Mr. king of Lego game.
You like that, Jack?
Napier. What a lovely background. Is that the Disney castle?
Yeah, it's the Magic Kingdom, Diagon Alley, and the Up House.
That thing is huge.
Speaking of which, I know what that hat is from. If you don't know where that hat is from, that not Jack Napier is wearing, you're a loser and you're too young to be here. No, just
Exactly. If you don't know where this hat is from, you need to get out there and get a fucking life.
kidding.
Smash the goddamn like button while you're at it.
Think of
Hawk
touching
Tua,
grass.
gentlemen. Hawk Tua, Jack.
Tua, spit of that thing.
All right, so back to what we were talking about. So essentially, when it comes to everything has to be built piece by piece. You can't just become immediately good at everything, and you can't skip steps. Otherwise, you won't have something as beautiful as this. So that's kind of what I'm going to get into, and I kind of want to go around round table on this. And Tarl, I'm gonna start with you. I want to understand, because for me, yes, I was able to get very good at women, but it took a lot for me to realize how to retain women. So
Yeah.
I want to understand for you, what did your personal progression story look like? And where did you maybe remain blind or ignorant for too long?
Well, kind of a lot of it was born out of idealism, right? Overly optimistic idealism, thinking that I could, do the right thing that, Oprah and Dr. Phil tell you to do, and do the right thing, because as I mentioned on previous episodes that, I was confused about what masculinity truly was because of my father's alcoholism, right? So I didn't really quite understand the difference between, what was masculine and all that stuff, and started by the toxic masculinity narrative that just being, the guy that enforces boundaries or sets the boundaries and enforce them. I'd set some boundaries, but that was kind of the thing for me, is it was a mixed bag. So my progression was that I had set half the boundaries that I should set, but didn't really enforce the ones that were being violated. And once again, that death by 1,000 paper cuts. So over the years, over the course of 10 years, it was, where we were fighting like every other day. And it wasn't like we were fighting like actually angry fighting. We were just disagreeing and arguing constantly over the same shit over and over and over again, where she would say she's going to do one thing and then do another, and it wouldn't work out. Right. And I was sitting there trying to do my job, but I kept stopping what I was doing and focusing on her. Right. So that was what the progression was. I finally just got fed up. I was going to leave. Right. So I started trying to figure out, well, I need money to be able to leave. So how do I make more money? How do I actually get myself out of this hole I dug? Right. And I just realized I just have to start building bit by bit, brick by brick. Right. And I just can't take any shortcuts. So I started looking up, how to become a millionaire, for real. I can't remember what precisely my first search was, but it wasn't how to save my relationship or anything like that. It was how to become a multimillionaire the right way. I think that's what I looked up. Right. And so I just started finding information about how to actually level up in the money department, because I knew that was my biggest weak spot. I grew up poor, had alcoholism and all that stuff. So I knew about money, but I didn't really know about money. And I hadn't actually tried to build any savings, build my credit, or do any of that stuff. So long story short, that's what I ended up doing. Was I just realized, oh shit, I didn't enforce any boundaries when I found the red pill, and realized all the things I'd been doing wrong and all the things I'd been doing right, thanks to Rollo's work, and got some clarity there. So I just started doing all the shit I hadn't done before and dropped doing all the bullshit that wasn't working for me. And voila, boundaries, happy wife.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And that's fantastic. When it comes to boundary setting, it's you're on a track. You have to set your track to make sure you get to your destination. But if you have a wobbly track, you're never going to get there. So let's move to you, AJ. What was something that, when it came to dating and relationships, that you maybe fell short on?
Hey, I've actually had some private conversations with Jack Napier on this one. Jack kind of knows where I'm coming from. My biggest downfall in my dating career, I would say, was my own codependence due to having a codependent mother. She kind of imprinted that on me. My father was there to give me the beta side of the house, the provisioning, the parental investment, the protection. Never really showed me the dominant masculine side of the house. And that's when I came into the space. Once again, boundaries from being codependent, not knowing what to do, and started working on inner game was the first thing for me. And following up with No More Mr. Nice Guy from Robert Glover. And now through working on the core four and then moving into the dominant masculine presence, I just started my lead interview at work. So I'm in the running for promotion
continuing on Wednesday. Just had an interview yesterday.
Oh, congrats, man. I love that. It's so great to hear. All right, Paul.
Oh, it's my turn, huh? All right. Well,
It is your turn.
it's interesting because when I was in high school, I was always pretty good with girls. I always had girlfriends my entire school career, from kindergarten. I always had little girlfriends all the way up through high school. I did have a little stint in junior high where I was a little nerdy. I started wearing glasses, and for whatever reason, like, that killed my self-esteem. But when I got contacts in high school, like, I was back in the game. But then I got married, like a dumbass. I got married, and then it's like I was one of those guys where, like, I was rushing for that white picket fence. I had this blue pill idealism of, well, that's what you do, right? You try to make every girl your wife, and you try to lock every girl down. And that's literally what my MO was, until I did lock down my wife. And then I did end up having a couple of kids, and we were married for 14 years. But I thought I hit the finish line, right? And that's what a lot of guys do. They think once they get into an LTR, well, the next progression naturally is to move in together. Next progression naturally is to get married. Like, that's what you do, right?
Yeah, you're not a man if you don't get married.
Right.
You're a boy.
Right. So got married, and I did it. I got the finish line, have the kids, and then I stopped trying, right? I got fat, lazy, stopped, dating my wife and all that kind of stuff. Next thing I know, 7 years in the marriage, I fucking hate her guts. She hates my guts. 7 years after that, find myself divorced, fat and divorced, and out of practice. And that's a big thing too. A lot of guys don't realize, because they see this old guy with gray beard talking about dating and relationships, and they're like, what? You should be married right now. It's like, well, there's a lot of guys, you don't realize there's a lot of guys that did do that. They got married young, and they didn't have the tools necessary to maintain that, and they get divorced, and now they're back on the dating circuit in their mid to late 30s, early 40s. Guilty. And they're fucking dating, right? So there's people out there dating that need these skills. And what I found when I was back on the dating circuit is I still didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And luckily, I had a sexually aggressive girlfriend that took pity on me. 11 months after the divorce, finally some chubby chaser came around. I immediately jumped into that relationship because, first girl that touches my dick, right? Like, that's what a lot of guys do. And so I get into this relationship that I should have never been in. I was with her for 4 years. I thought I hit the finish line again.
Wait, you were in a relationship with the chubby chaser for 4 years?
Yes. She wasn't chubby herself. She just liked chubby guys. And
she was the chubby chaser.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not a chubby. Fuck you. I'm not a chubby chaser.
New.
Fuck you, man. No. So anyway, so I ended up in this relationship. I ended up losing the weight. I decided I'm not happy with myself. I lose the weight. And, but I also stopped trying in that relationship too, right? So that relationship ended after about 4.5 years. Found myself back on the dating circuit. And then all of a sudden, like, I was able to get dates, right? Get dates easily, because now I'm not a fat fuck anymore. It's easy to get dates. And it's easy to hook up and get laid. But the problem was, as much like AJ was talking about, I had these codependency issues, right? I was the needy little bitch that was trying to push for a relationship. And that pushes women away because it goes against their natural instinct. They naturally want to lock down a guy that they perceive as high value. It doesn't work the other way around. And I didn't learn that until I started reading books like No More Mr. Nice Guy, Atomic Attraction, How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne, Dating Essentials for Men. And so when I started reading these books, especially No More Mr. Nice Guy and Atomic Attraction, that's really where I realized where I was fucking up, right? Like, I was the guy who was being a needy little bitch. I had to fix that. I had to take a step back and realize it's not your job to lock these chicks down. The boundaries thing is important. I didn't really learn that until later. There's a really great book on that. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It's in the Married Red Pill sidebar. But it was those skills that I had to develop. And it's all up here. you know, a lot of that stuff is up here. It's not like you could fix this stuff easily, right? Like not, you know, dieting and fitness and stuff, but you could fix that pretty easily. But up here is where the real work begins. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now I'm trying to decipher what you're saying. You're saying you still have to date your wife?
Or girlfriend. Yeah, there's never going to be a wife again, ever.
Let's dive deeper. Let's dive deeper into that. Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean? Like when you're in a long-term relationship, continually date her? Because you already dated and now you're together.
No,
What does that mean?
you still got to go and do fun things. You got to do what got you to the show in the beginning, right? There were certain things that attracted her in the first place. If you don't keep doing those attractive things, you're going to get complacent. She's going to get bored, and you could be anything to a woman, but you can't be boring. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
was a
so
huge-
that's so
that's-
true. That's why I just obviously it was a facetious. Is that a good word for it? Question.
Yeah.
I understand that. You understand that. But I wanted to touch on that because it is important when you
Yeah,
get
because you were
into
asking
a
for the
rela-
benefit of the audience. For
Yeah.
those who may not know.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get it locked in, you need to. Oh wow, that looks beautiful right there. I love it.
Do you
But
and the Lego
Man,
set need a
that's
room,
sexy.
Huds?
Do we need to push this back so you get back on topic? All right.
Well, we are on topic.
All right.
But it's incredibly important. Like just because you got her doesn't mean that she's gonna stay, and you need to continually date her, whatever that may look like. Okay, so that's really all I was going to say on that, and then we can keep moving on to the different points. So Mike, what for you was your biggest struggle and something that you were ignorant to?
Rollo talks about this. He calls it children with dynamite. And while I was definitely not a child at the time that I started to learn game and learn how to talk to women and attract women, I was about 33. I was not prepared for basically the LTR, the hard mode. And I remember starting to pick up chicks a lot more easily. And for the first time in my life, the women were ripping off my clothes. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But then, after about 3 months, they would be like, where's this going? And I hadn't met Donovan yet, who taught me how to handle that. And so I was just like, squirrel! And it would just fizzle out, and I would ghost, and I would push them away, and basically put myself in a situation where I wouldn't have to address the issue, because I wasn't prepared to address the issue. I had jumped right to the end, not in a relationship sense, but in the game sense. You know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get this chick, I'm gonna get that chick, I'm gonna get that chick. Oh, I got all these chicks now. Oh shit! Now what do I do with them? And that's what happened to me. And so the growth that I have had over these past several years, I've noticed that the men's group coaches and mentors that I associate with, I will never like swear off any of my old bros or anything like that. Like I'm a Donovan man forever. But as I grow, my coaches and my mentors change. And so now I'm in the mindset of like the LTR part of my life, even though I'm not in one, I want to prepare for one. And so that's why I'm spending more time with, guys like Paul and Thor, guys who are either married or in relationships, and a little bit less time with, guys like, Myron or some of the guys that do just dating, just game, just getting laid and all that. I believe it's all important, but I can tell that my desire for knowledge and what I perceive to be relationship success has changed because you look at who I gain mentorship from now.
Yeah, it's like the stage of your journey. And what you were kind of explaining with, oh my God, like I have all these girls. Well, you're spinning too many plates and then you end up dropping them because you can only handle so much. You can only handle what you can handle. And that's really profound. I like that because that's a piece that's missing. When we talk about this, we have like start, beginning stages, middle, growth, relationship, LTR, marriage, forever. These are all different stages, and they require different skills at each and every step. And so you may have jumped forward, but you didn't realize some of the things in the past. So it's profound. I like that. All right, Jack, we're coming to you. You're the
What do you
Lego
want?
guy. So
What do you want?
piece by piece, when we think about those steps that I just described,
Yeah.
where were you maybe blind and ignorant in the past?
Oh man. Where do you want me to begin? Jesus fucking Christ. Oh God. So in the beginning I was kind of like Paul where I never had an issue having girls being interested in me. Maybe I was blessed with my mother's good looks and that helped a lot. But I was always aiming for the relationship because that's the measurement of success, right? The relationship. Not knowing that, indeed, like Paul mentioned, when you're the guy who has that outcome independence, ironically enough, paradoxically enough, makes her want you more. And after, well, how old was I? I don't know, 24, 25 maybe. I had my last girlfriend where I kind of chased the relationship, and after that I was kind of like doing my own thing. Hooked up with back then a very good female friend of mine who I was absolutely blinded to that liked me, and yes, that happened. That actually happened. And right at that time, a very good friend of mine got dumped, and of course he Googled, how do I get my girlfriend back? And he found Corey Wayne and Elliot Hulse, and he introduced me to Corey Wayne. He's like, this bald-headed guy, he looks a bit weird. Maybe he got a bit of a weird voice, but listen to what he says. And I started implementing a little bit of his advice where if a woman likes you, she puts herself in your orbit and blah, blah, blah. And so this friend who kept wanting to hang out with me had a boyfriend, so I didn't even think about it. So I applied this advice. I said, okay, women who like you, put yourselves in their orbit, fine. So she kept texting me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, when are you free to get together? And she's like, give me a moment. And she texted me her entire work schedule of the month with her free days on it. She's like, pick a date. I'm like, oh shit, this guy's right. We dated off and on again for about 6 months. And after that, I never pushed for the relationship ever again. I was also introduced to women who want you for nothing more than just sex. So I kind of went to Tinder back in the golden days of Tinder, which must have been like 2000. When was this? 2000?
I would say it's like 2016, right? Because
before that, even
2010, 2012.
12, 13, 14. It's like I said, I'm getting the timing I'm getting right. And I wasn't 25. I was younger than that. I was around 25. So 2014 and 15 that my buddy and I, Watson, we just slayed on Tinder. When Tinder was actually good. And yes, you Zoomers listening, Tinder used to be for people who wanted nothing more than to hook up. You didn't have these horrible, rigid fatties on there who wanted something serious. No, you actually had some good hotties on there, like Friday night, get a match, like, hey, what's your number? Or here's my address or whatever, and you knew you were in. So I did that for a while. I met this one girl who, after a date, kept texting me and didn't leave me alone. I'm like, okay, sure. And at a certain point, she kind of like nudged a bit for the relationship. And I was like, why not? This girl is chill. She's adding value. Went with that. Broke up with her about 1.5 years later. Went back to Tinder. Then got an entry-level job. And as you know, with entry-level jobs, nobody gives a shit. So I hooked up with a coworker there who became my main plate for about 2 years. No. Who became my main plate for about 2 years. She got fired at a certain point, so nothing of value was lost, and it was an entry-level job. Do not recommend. Like, I know what I'm doing, so in general, don't do it. But there was nothing of value was lost there. And at a certain point, she wanted the relationship. And I didn't. She wanted me to meet her parents, and I had some information from her about her mom where I was like, no, this is not going to happen, because that's something I learned previously in previous relationship. If there's one boundary I have that will not be crossed, is tolerating toxic parents. I will not do it. I will not do it. I don't care if the girl comes from an unstable household. I'm fine with that. I come from an unstable household. I know the goose and the gander, blah, 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 blah. But like, I know. But if she comes from like a toxic household and she still defends her parents, even though it's undefendable what they did, I just don't. It's a no-go for me, where it's like, I'll fuck you, but I'm not going to commit to you. I will not meet your parents. I will not be your boyfriend. I will not commit to you. And that's kind of what happened with the main plate, where her mom was just a right-out bitch. Most a right-out bitch. And she asked me, like, hey, you want to meet my mom? I'm like, no. Why would I?
You've told me
she was
stories.
like, oh, it's like, but we've been dating for 1.5 years. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't change the fact that your mom's a bitch. So no, and that is one of those moments every guy needs to learn, where you will either lose or you will gain, but you have to be willing to lose. I was willing to lose her over this, and in the end, I did, and it's fine, because now I don't have to deal with toxic parents. I refuse to do it. What else did we got that I learned from that? There was one lesson I learned recently, that do not give them the benefit of the doubt. Just don't. Do not give anybody the benefit of the doubt. If anything aligns with previous experiences, I don't care what their reasons are. If it aligns with previous experiences, go with your gut. It will save you a lot of trouble.
Yes. Oh my God. When it comes to the gut, that is so true. Just follow the gut. The gut's telling you exactly what you need to know. And when you ignore it, yeah, it may work out, but there's a lot of times that it doesn't.
I have a caveat to that. Because so I've been going through the Book of Puck on my channel as a series, and Puck does talk a lot about trust your gut, right? Trust your gut. The only time that I would say I would recommend maybe don't is when you're still in the blue pill mindset and your gut is telling you to do all the beta comfort bullshit, right? Like, try to impress her with money, try to impress her with steak dinners, try to impress her with fucking flowers and stuff like that. Oh, apologize profusely for every fucking thing that you do.
Tell her how you feel about her.
Yeah, tell her how you feel, because, you know, women want you to be emotionally vulnerable. All that shit, if your gut says to do that, you have some work to do.
I was gonna say, even 3 years into this, like, I still even have trouble fighting that stuff off over time. Like, you have to constantly work on it. It's a constant mindset shift.
The work never stops.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was looking at something else. I want to go to Thor on this.
Oh, Thor's
You're on
Here we
mute.
go. Yeah.
Could you ask me the question again? Because I want to lay this out. I have a bunch of notes here, and I think I can be helpful here when it comes to laying out these pieces.
Absolutely. So when it comes to your own personal progression story, or like what that looked like, or others that you have met, like where did you or they remain blind and ignorant to certain steps of the process and try and jump ahead, and then that caused a lot of problems?
Oh, I got a good one. I think that we all probably fall into this. So my primary weakness starting out with relationships with women is, you know, I know we're talking about these as in Lego pieces, they all fit together. I want to go beyond that Lego castle you're building and look at what's actually underneath it. And that would be foundational, right? What is the foundation that this is built upon? Every relationship needs to be built upon a foundation. And honestly, everybody I know, pretty much as far as men is concerned, did not understand the cardinal rule. And that led to a tremendous amount of problems in overlooking all of the liabilities that most women will bring into the relationship and test you with shit tests, all that stuff. And you guys all understand the cardinal rule as a foundation here and the pilings for you to build this relationship on it. And what it states is that the person with the most, who is needed the most in the relationship is the one that wields the most power in regards to setting boundaries and expectations. And that should definitely always be the man if you expect to lead in a relationship. And if you don't know those things, you're setting yourself up for failure, whether it's short term or not. You know, I was just having this discussion beyond understanding the cardinal rule, but also, you know, the women shit test you all the time to see if you do have that power in the relationship. And you got to pass those shit tests. Well, man, you have to test the women too on these short-term relationships and the long-term relationship. These are the pieces that you have to watch out for. I mean, you have to look at yourself, and in this relationship, do you find, you know, the women that you're dating, are you arguing with them like more than 3% of the time? You should not have a relationship if that's the case, because that's a personality conflict and you're conflicting over the cardinal rule. Also, have you guys dated women that demand your attention constantly? That's someone that needs external validation all the time, and they're not self-validating. And then the biggest puzzle piece that I learned from not knowing the cardinal rule and then moving on to some failed relationships to really good ones is I had some tests, and it's probably the most important one that I can express to anybody. And that's the grudge holding and vengeance test. Is anybody familiar with that?
Please explain.
Okay, so when you're dating a woman, whether it's long-term, whether a long-term prospect or not, you have to understand there is going to be a time when you have a disagreement. And in that disagreement, it might even become, you know, kind of a verbal tussle or an argument. And it doesn't have an immediate resolution. It could be around boundary setting, right? Or expectations. And so you wait 24 hours. And if that person you're dating is still bent out of shape about the argument, you have a grudge holder, personality wise. And then the next step beyond that is vengeance. That's bringing it up at an inopportune time to tell you you made an argument that she didn't appreciate, even though it's been long past. So those are personality traits that you should absolutely call an all stop to if you're dating. If you have a person that's going to hold a grudge, that's a personality issue. If you have an argument and it's unresolved, and then the next day she's amicable and happy to see you and all those sort of things, she has an easygoing personality. Much easier to set boundaries and expectations, which are these pieces we're talking about, especially when it comes to, you know, her liabilities for you, what's going to detract. You know, you are going to be a provider and hold your male burden of performance with her. She needs to appreciate it. And I think a lot of relationships really fail in that regard. You know, men are only looked at very much as a transactional item from women, whether you like it or not. Anyway, cardinal rule, foundational. It's where I learned my biggest lessons. I didn't understand that. I would move on in life and give up my power.
I love that. I was just like, I don't know. I'm just like thinking about everything that you're saying there. That is so true. That 24-hour rule. And
that's a huge one. Huds, that is probably the biggest advice I can give anybody that's dating. whether you're a player or not. Even if you're a player and you're having casual relationships, if you have a woman that doesn't hold a grudge, you can set boundaries and expectations.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything easier. And she'll stick by your side for a long time. But if you have a grudge holder, the next step is to elevate it into vengeance, which is to publicly dismay you because you didn't yield to her arguments back in the day. Remember, most archaeologists are female. That's because of their uncanny ability to dig up the past.
Well, I mean, Thor brings up a good point. If you have a grudge holder and things like that, the only thing you have is your attention, and the best thing you can do is just remove it. Because if you have somebody who holds a grudge and isn't willing to work through it, who stonewalls you and who sets the term of your interaction only to her hand, even though you are like willing to talk through it, there is no working with that. They will what's the word I'm looking for? I can only describe it. It's that feeling, and AJ will know what I'm talking about. It's, there's something wrong. You damn well know there's something wrong, and you bring it up like, hey, you are not okay. Tell me what's up. No.
Intuition, maybe?
Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's a gut feeling mixed in with the gaslighting that they give you.
Yeah, it's that gaslighting that goes on. You feel
you know what's wrong.
You feel like you're in this weird twilight zone, and everything is coming at you.
Now, hold on. Before you go forward, the best tool that you can use in that situation when she's bringing up the past and it's unnecessary and there's nonsense, things are not being let go, is to ask the question, what is really upsetting you? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to open up her mind to understand where she's trying to place her Lego pieces. Like that? Because that's the truth. It's like sometimes women aren't the best direct communicators. That's just fact. It is what it is. And us as men, we like direct communication. So when you are communicating with a woman on something and you know that it's just not making sense, okay, ask her what she's trying to do.
Yeah. Corey Wayne talks about this in How to Be a 3% Man, about getting to what's really eating at her. Because it's like, she's not mad that you didn't take the trash out.
Exactly.
She's mad about something else. And if she's stonewalling you and stuff like that, there's something else going on. I'll tell you what, though, if she just really sucks at communicating and she does keep stonewalling you, and she's just insufferable when it comes to trying to manage this, and it just becomes a chore. Sometimes it's best to cut things loose, So
this could be a core part of her personality, and this leads back to the grudge holding thing.
Yeah.
And this is, a lot of guys do this, and this is their lack of understanding of that cardinal rule, is when she does that and she is basically putting you in her frame, most men will start pleasing and pampering her to avoid her discomfort. How many of you know that happened? How about your mom and dad? How about all that?
Yeah, happy wife, happy life.
No, but that's walking on eggshells.
Keeping the peace.
Think of it this way. They're supporting her frame, not having her support his frame.
Yeah, it's emotional terrorism is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Exactly.
That's a good description.
But with that, when you start feeling like you're walking on eggshells, that is probably the best time.
Worst.
You should have done it earlier, but that right there should be your calling to eject and get the fuck out of there.
I want to.
It's not you. In all honesty, to anybody listening to this, when you have the feeling you're walking on eggshells, it's not you. I'm just saying this right now. It's not you. It's not you. You are dealing with something beyond your control. Run.
One recommendation I want to give guys, because Thor brought up a really good point about the grudge test, right? A really excellent book that I highly recommend. It's actually in the Married Red Pill sidebar too, is A Tactical Guide to Women by Sean T. Smith. The entire book is all about spotting behavioral patterns in women that if they don't fix, because you can't fix them, You can't change them. They have to do it themselves. They have to, like, you can make them aware of it, but you can't change them, right? They have to want to change it. If you find these behavioral patterns in the women that you're dating, that should tell you everything you need to know, and they're probably not the right person. Hey, we have a $20 super chat. You know what that means?
Yes, we know what that means.
Can we bring that up? Here we go. Corey M. We'll let Mike read it here, but then we'll play him the thing.
Corey M with the $20 super chat. W Thor. W Viking. W other panelists. Huck to you.
Those other guys. Here we go. Thank you for the $20 super chat.
Thank you for the super chats. Groovy bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
Yes, that's why they give the super chats. It's for the tatas, not for the actual
honesty,
information.
I mean, maybe it's me. I would only bang one of those chicks. The rest all look fat to me.
Dude.
Yeah.
If she ain't 240, wait, what was it? If she ain't 280,
She ain't a lady if she ain't 280, right?
Jesus,
Exactly.
savage math there. The savage math is what counts there.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
3 3s is a 9.
But like to a degree though, that walking on eggshells type. Okay, some guys are actually genuinely retarded. Don't mind the Apple thingy here. But yeah, it's a function by Apple. You don't want to see what happens when I put 2 thumbs up. But
do it.
okay, here. Does it work?
That's
Come on.
Oh, there it is.
No, come on. Yes, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. But,
Dude, that's actually awesome. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
but to a degree. Okay, some guys are genuinely socially retarded, which is absolutely true. But in general, like, if your girl gives you a silent treatment and you go for the, okay, something is absolutely wrong, what is up, whatever, and she holds a grudge and she gives you the silent treatment and you have to work for hours, sometimes days to get out of it, and you know that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, whatever, you feel that sense of impending doom. That's the word I was looking for. Impending doom. You just
Dude, you're
feel
giving
it in the
PTSD.
back of your you feel it on the back of your neck, that feeling of impending
Anxiety.
doom. Oh yeah, the anxiety. Run. Just don't. Just don't. It's not gonna work. Maybe the first 2 times you can get her to like emote, but imagine doing that every time. Imagine being in a constant state of anxiety and fear. That's what it almost is. It's almost fear. What you're experiencing when that happens.
Well, I don't want to make my wife mad.
That's so weird.
That's why that's
That's where that comes from.
one of the chats I'm in with Rolo. Rolo was mentioning this the other day about the whole concept of guys wanting girls that bring them peace. It's such fucking bullshit though, because you can't expect externally your peace to come from an external source.
Exactly.
Like,
that has to come from within.
You have to work on your own frame to if you want to have peace at all. Your girl is going to do what your girl does. Right? Girls do what girls do, and women crave indignation. They need it. They need drama in their life, or they will fucking create it. So you got to understand it and have fucking fun with it. And that's where your peace will come from, not from trying to find a girl that's boring, because you're just going to get bored with a chick that brings you peace, because she's going to be, she's not going to be fun, and but she's full of fucking peace. And then you're going to cheat on her and cause your own fucking drama. That's what's going to happen.
Such a good point. Like, honestly, like they speak about it in the space, and I think that's why we're kind of missing the point. And you hit the nail on the head, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
There, we're missing the point at times where you don't want the girl to bring you peace. You want her to fit in as a Lego into your life.
Yeah,
she's gotta be a
Rolo
compliment.
talks
Like,
about this too.
If y'all, can I swear?
Yeah,
You
we're
are
way past
allowed.
8
I give you
Okay.
permission.
If y'all motherfuckers call me the Lego guy one more time, I swear to God, I'm gonna rip somebody's
Well, Jack,
Huds has made more Lego references than I have done in my entire Lego career.
Jack, we're not the one with the King's Cannoneer tattooed on our bicep.
Oh, you recognize that? Oh, you know.
He is the king of Lego game. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what
No,
you say.
if again, if you guys don't know what that tattoo is,
I have not made so many references about Lego in my entire YouTube career. It's like, yeah. Huds is now officially the Lego guy. Just saying.
You got the link in the hat.
Lego episode.
Take your crown, King. You drop this.
But
Jack's
Rolo
Lord of the Rings
references in one of his books, I believe, or he talks about this, saying that the red pill doesn't like teach you to hate women. It teaches you to be able to love them for what they'll never be, right? Or not to hate them for what they'll never be.
That's his
right?
one of his 9 iron rules, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's the biggest problem, is that a lot of guys have those false mental models, expectations of what the woman is going to provide for their life. Having constant peace, that's not going to happen. You're going to get shit tested every once in a while, because she needs to be reassured on a subconscious level that you're really that guy and you're not going to fall for the death by 1,000 paper cuts. Right? That's the shit test that you're constantly having to live in as a man, that men constantly fail. Yes, women are just going to do this subconsciously. It's part of their nature to make sure you stay on your toes, because otherwise too many lazy motherfuckers get complacent, take their foot off the gas, and they lose the relationship. Why? Because they stop putting any effort into it. You need to keep the foot on the gas to keep the momentum, and it's never going to stop. And that's one of those harsh red pills that a lot of guys can't come to terms with. Yeah, you're always on. You're always that guy that she fell in love with. And if you're not, she's not going to be in love with you anymore. Right? And once again, the rules change when you're doing the right things. As soon as the rule, like, all girls keep that list in the back of their head of all your transgressions, right?
Yep.
All your sins.
The Excel spreadsheet.
But whether or not they weaponize it depends on you. Have you sunk below that threshold in her eyes, that contextual alpha?
Yep.
Or are you still above that threshold? If you're above that threshold, that list is just going to be sitting, and she might even think that list is funny. She might even think those things make you endearing. But as soon as that shit goes below, and
Yep.
you go below water, all of a sudden she's got ammunition for days.
Yep, guys,
So-
every woman keeps that Excel spreadsheet in her head. It's whether or not she whips it out.
Yep, and that's
Right.
going to depend on
Right.
you and your congruence with being a real leader. When we talk about, alpha, it's a leadership. Alpha means leadership, right? People keep forgetting. Alpha and beta is just leader follower, right? And whether or not you're exhibiting those behaviors in the correct context.
Right. And I mean, how? Like, my girl's very passive, very supportive. Like, she does not like fights. But, I've seen it twice now where she's brought things forward. So any woman can do it. But just understand that she is dating you and wants to be with you based on who you presented yourself as. And that's where it comes to steps. And oh Lord, I'm gonna get deeper into this, and you know what? I'm gonna be late to my party. That's a good way to start with dominant masculine presence. Let's go ahead and roll some mid-roll ads, and then let me cook here.
Yeah.
Ever feel like the world is trying to make you smaller? That the qualities that used to define you are now something to be ashamed of? It's not just you. For decades, society has been pushing men to fit into a mold that doesn't match who they are. But there's a way out, a path to reclaim what it means to be a man. A Dominant Masculine Presence by R.P. Thor is the guide you've been waiting for. In this book, you'll discover the 7 essential skills that every man needs to stand tall and take control. Learn how to project confidence, master your emotions, and communicate with authority. RP Thor takes you through real-life examples, sharing practical techniques to help you develop your own dominant masculine presence. It's time to stop feeling sidelined. Time to step up and lead. With a dominant masculine presence, you can become the man you were meant to be. Order a Dominant Masculine Presence now on Amazon or listen on Audible. Rediscover your strength. Reclaim your life.
Didn't mean to step on you there, Mike.
That was okay. I was just going to segue. I was going to say, speaking of pieces, and building things step by step. Fitness is one of those things that you can build step by step. And Paul has a new fitness course that he just released. Check this out, guys.
Tired of complicated diets and time-consuming workouts? Does your busy schedule leave no room for the gym? You're not alone. Thousands of men struggle with the same problem. The frustration of not seeing results can be overwhelming. But what if I told you there's an easier way? Introducing the Basic Diet and Fitness Mini Course, your no-nonsense guide to getting fit. Learn the only 4 exercises you need and master the secret of effortless weight loss with the calories in, calories out method. It's time to break free from the cycle of failure. Start your journey to a healthier, stronger you today. Sign up for the Basic Diet and Fitness Mini Course now, because every man deserves to feel confident and fit. Transform your life, one simple step at a time.
Visit fit.comeonmanpod.com and sign up today. No more excuses.
Step 1, don't eat a bowl of fucking mustard.
Look at that bearded Viking.
Hold on. I got a question. Who was that fat fuck in that?
At the beginning, that was me. Yeah, that was me
Fucking fatty.
when I was still married. Just a fat piece of shit.
Well, see, that's the thing when it comes to doing things step by step. You're at the finishing level. Like, so for example, with my company and what we do, I will go ahead and have one of the engineers build the website, and then I do the polish. So at the very end, I need to make sure it's all right. It's the same thing with relationships. So with you, Paul, like, you got the relationship, but there was no polish put on. And because of that,
I ended up polishing my knob a lot because she wouldn't fucking put out after a while.
Exactly.
Expand calories.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's important to understand, like, the step by step. Like, so for example, I'm working with a guy right now, and he is killing it when it comes to these openers. And subjectively, he's like a 5 SMV, and he's matching with 8s and 9s. It's like crazy to see the progress that he's having. But then he can't take it forward. And that's what's so important for guys to understand, is that, like, there are steps to every process. And just because you got it doesn't mean you get to keep it. That's something that a lot of guys don't really think about. And I think that that's what we really need to focus on here is, okay, like, step by step. Okay, I understand the opener to texting. I understand the conversation. I understand the first date. I understand the second date, and then delving into a relationship, and then, like, moving it all forward. We don't get that a lot. Because
The best opener will always be, you got any of that hook tour? Just do it, man. Just do it.
Tour or get the fuck out. That's
Hot tour GTFO. Your clothes will look great on my floor.
let me. I think I know where you're going with this, Huds. Right? So you're saying that this guy, he's matching, but he can't get to the dates, right? Like, he's on the dating app, he's matching with all these hot chicks, but it doesn't go anywhere. Is that right?
Correct. He will get some of the video dates to move it forward, but even on the video dates, they fall flat, and he's not the person he presents himself as.
Oh, got it. So he's not being
Incongruent.
congruent. Like, he's really good at bantering, but not good at closing and shit like that. Would
Yeah,
you say that?
he's good at bantering. He's good at, like, starting the conversation, but he's not good at actually developing a connection with somebody.
Who needs
Okay.
a connection?
Like, because I've
Well, you got to
noticed
put
this-
the plug in the socket eventually. That's the connection.
That's the only connection you got in.
I have a guy that I'm working with, and I've been working with him for a while, and and so one of the things I teach is, and I learned it from Dr. Glover, but 3 levels of testing, right? You're basically just testing for interest, and level 1 is your opener. Level 2 is just your banter, and number 3 is requiring something of them, right? Their number or date on the spot, one of those types of things, right? And and he's not alone. Like, this is very common for a lot of guys, but he's really good at opening. He's really good at level 2 testing, so the banter and stuff like that. But then he quits because when you get to level 3, that's where the rejection comes in. And so he gets that fear of rejection, so he never pulls that trigger And so what I'm having him do right now, the practice I'm having him do right now, because he's already really fucking good at 1 and 2. That next step is level 3. I'm like, just skip to level 3. We're going to go out, and I want you to go out because he goes out like 3 or 4 times a week, and he opens these girls, or he never goes anywhere. I'm like, fuck it, just skip all that shit. Just walk up to him, say, hey, you look like a cute chick. My name is so-and-so. I'm going to regret not asking for your number. Just go right for that. And so I'm like, your goal is not to get their number. Your goal is to get rejected. And I want you to go out and get rejected at least 3 times a night. So that's what we're doing now. Now we're going to bump that up. We're going to bump it up. I want you to get rejected 7 times in a night. You know, eventually what he's doing though, is it's not necessarily, you know, the trying to get numbers and stuff like that. It's getting over that fear of rejection so that he realizes
like,
it's not that bad, you know?
It's kind of
so
like when Justin Mark made us do 100 approaches in 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that muscle memory. Cause a lot of guys, they just have that fear of rejection. So once you you push that past that fear, now you can get to that next step. You can get to that next Lego piece, right, Huds?
Dude, I love the Lego stuff. Look how beautiful it is. I'm having so much fun with it. But that's the truth. And you know what, guys? I know we talked about it before, but I do have a prior obligation I need to jump to. And this is going to be, I don't even want to leave. But
just get the fuck out of here.
I need
before you go.
I get it.
Huds, plug your shit and then get the fuck out of here.
Arrived. You
Thanks,
just want
Huds.
to build the tower.
Plug your shit and get the fuck out.
Fair enough. All right. Reach out to me. Oh, that's pointing the wrong way. I guess I got to turn my hand around.
There you go.
I don't know how this shit works. Whatever. Reach out to me on Instagram. Best way to reach me. This is a badass Lego set. I love this thing. And we're just building it out. We've got our up house, our Diagon Alley. We got our Magic Kingdom. We got the Hogwarts Castle over there. We're going to continue to build it. Oh,
is that a Snorlax?
Yeah,
that is.
Hey, Huds, hit the leave studio button on your way out, not the end stream button, okay?
Huds,
I wanted to nuke
He's
it.
not new.
Best friends.
I wanted to nuke it. Why can't I nuke it?
Please fucking don't. Okay.
Don't nuke this.
I won't. I trust me.
Huds, hit me
But
up
yeah,
on-
if you wanna reach out to me for any dating questions, absolutely. If you want to join my men's community, it's called Men of Now. Absolutely fantastic. We have weekly calls, which have been great, and we really dive into really whatever you want to. We do an open bar stream every single time before that weekly meeting, where we kind of like preface what we're going to be talking about. And yeah, that's about it. All right.
Where do I go if I want to date you? Snorlax is my favorite Pokemon, so we need to talk more, Huds.
I think we do.
I
But
think
for
we
now,
do too.
we'll talk behind the scenes.
I'm
You're
taking
not
that
letting
music.
romance.
Don't make it
Huds.
weird. Don't make it weird.
Weird
I
I already
romance.
did.
Today's a very weird
All
dragon ship.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
See ya, Huds.
Later.
Oh, thank God he left.
All right. Thor, you're taking over, huh?
Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's move you into the spot. Okay, there you go.
I don't have his notes here, but adding these pieces to your relationships, I had some notes here. Hopefully I'll be coherent. But short term, long term, we talked about the grudge holders. Let's say you get past all of that. One of the things you can do to set boundaries, which is a piece of your, imagine it as the fence pieces for this castle that you're building, whether it's long term or not, is what you can do instead of just laying out these boundaries. A lot of guys, well, this is my boundary, here's my expectation. And it's viewed as a little bit combative sometimes by the girls. I've heard that from a lot of the folks in our groups. Is what you can do is create rituals and certain, when I say rituals and rules, you use this to your advantage to condition yourself so that you're following the cardinal rule. For instance, you might give her something that you'd like her to do, and she's kind of amicable to it, but it's not something she's comfortable with. Well, whatever she does, make sure she screws up so that you can get yourself into a position where you can be very playful with her, and you can start to say she needs punishment so that she's doing her homework in these rituals correct. What is this setting up? This is setting up dominance for you in the future when you do actually have these boundaries that you need to enforce. Am I making sense to you guys?
Yes, sir.
And so this is going to lead to her, oh, I need you to do this for me. Oh, okay. And then even if she does something for you, say she brought in the paper, you let the paper fall into the water and it curled up, one of the leaves, I'm going to have to punish you for this. This is going to be, a lesson to you. And you get playful with it, but you always make sure that you move it in a sexual escalation situation. So this is part of creating mystery too, by the way. One of those Legos pieces is maintaining mystery throughout a long-term relationship that helps keep her attraction levels very, very high. So you create this kind of thing so that you can maybe even punish her for it playfully and you'll see as you do these sort of things, she's more amicable to your boundaries. What do you guys think about that, using techniques like that?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I sort of jokingly tell Nurse Chick when she does something that it's even, when she does something, it's not even a real transgression. Like the other day, right? She writes little love notes for me before she gets up really early and leaves. She gets my coffee all situated for me, so it's ready to go. I have a Keurig machine. She gets it all nice. She writes a little love note, and then on the back, she writes a funny little joke usually. And the other morning, right before my live stream, I go and I get my love note and I turn it over. There's no joke on it. And so I told her there's going to be a paddling. There's going to be a paddling for that. But then she does that shit on purpose so she can get the paddling. So
I was just about to ask that. Like, won't that condition them to mess up on purpose?
That's okay though. That's okay though. You can use it for something like that. But see, you're conditioning her, and this is really important when it comes to these things. If she's one of those type of gals where she's texting you too much, and one of your boundaries is, look, don't text me while I'm in this meeting or I'm doing this work and all this stuff. And she does, you do not respond in any way. And then she's going to get a little punishment for it. So yes, you can enter that dominance situation in a sec, because when a woman is sexually aroused, that's such a turn on to her. If you do it in isolation, she's going to feel that you're creating a combative situation and that she needs to defend herself. So there's a fine line there, but if you do that now, they're more amicable to your conditioning, and it gets much more in depth than that if you do it. But I'm a big believer in, setting forth some rituals or some rules, just so that she can fail them. And you can get into that sexual escalation thing, because when I actually have a serious rule or boundary, she won't actually want to fail it to get in trouble, because the consequences will be explained and the rewards for not doing it will be the same or something better. I hope I'm making sense of that. I'm actually rushing through these notes. So that's one of the pieces I would add to the foundation as I'm screening these gals. And if she's not a grudge holder, guess what? It's going to work great.
So one thing, one thing with that I've noticed is that, if she's into that sort of thing, that dominant in the bedroom type thing, it's not really a punishment. So it sort of ends up being a playful thing. But when she really does do a transgression, something that does sort of bother you, time and attention is almost that's the real punishment, because attention's the coin of the realm, right?
Yep. Yeah, especially that time and attention. That's a big deal to them. So, and as you're dating them, that's your biggest tool right there. You get more into the long term, and as you condition, you'll need that less and less. But there will be comfort tests that come in, so got to be aware of that, because they want to know you're always that guy there for them. And the only way for them to make sure that you are is to test it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also I agree with you a lot, Thor, because that's one of the things that I had to learn to do as a good leader in a relationship. It's my job to, delegate tasks that are actually going to be advantageous for the Lego house that I'm building piece by piece. Right. So keeping your girl busy, right? That's one way that a lot of guys put it, but putting her on task, like I'll give a, anecdotal example, right? I just learned from one of the gentlemen I know that's a good friend of mine in the Fresh Fit Discord. He's a 3-star Michelin chef. He taught me how to make proper 3-star Michelin chef scrambled eggs. That's something I've been practicing over the last couple of months, and I perfected the dish, got good at it, adding cheese and all that stuff correctly, dicing it up and everything like he taught me to. And I taught my girl how to do it, right? And she was messing it up at first. The eggs weren't turning out perfectly. They were sometimes overseas and stuff like that. And I tease her a little bit about it. But once again, I've got her on a task, and now she's perfected the recipe as well. Like the last batch that she made me, spot on, perfect. So she's accomplished that goal. So now she's worked for something. She's proud of it. My son loves the eggs too, right? Because they're fucking delicious, right? So now the whole family's in on this like skill of cooking for that one particular dish. And she's now able to make me better food whenever I need it, right? So now she's got it, and she could still mess it up. And now she's going to be thinking about, oh, am I going to mess it up this next time? Make sure I got everything right. And once again, it just another example of one of those tasks you could delineate or delegate as a leader to your follower, right? And give them something to do that's actually beneficial, useful, not just for me, but also for them. Right? Because my son's going to learn how to do this as well now, right? So he's going to be able to cook those eggs, right? And be able to pass that on to his children eventually if he wants to. Once again, adding another skill to the tribe.
All right, absolutely, for sure. Let's go ahead and hit the super chat, and then I'll get to the final topic. I have his notes here now.
Julian Rays with the $5 super chat.
I got it here. Hold on. Here
I could give a sound drop.
I got it.
All right.
Thank you, Julian, very much for your support. We appreciate that. I'm missing out on today's Dragonship to spend time with my family. Much needed time away from the red pill. That nasty red pill. It's so dirty. Just here to show my support. Cheers!
Let me just say this, guys. Fuck your family. Show up to the Dragonship.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Besides, you can't really get time away from the
Do it
red
to
pill.
him.
It is a suppository. Once it's there, I mean, getting it out. It's a
Sometimes it goes all the way up into your brain, right, Thor?
Yeah, it leaves you like this.
That's
Okay,
why we
so
all have the haircut. That's
getting back to Huds had one final thing for us guys to discuss. And, in his position as a dating coach, what he runs into while you're building all of these things step by step, a lot of guys just are so socially awkward. They don't really know where to start, how to start. And I hear you, we all talk about cold approach. God, you've got great stuff and great information to get guys just over the hump so they're not afraid of their own shadow when it comes to talking to women. And socially fitting in. But the question he left for us was, how can you best identify what steps still need work on and how do you fix it? For instance, you're getting a lot of dates. You're on the apps, you're getting the dates or you're getting the responses, but you're getting a high flake rate or no second dates. So what do we do about that? How do we identify what's going on there? How do we get these women to stick around somewhat? Where do you guys think they'd be lacking? Let's just go around the horn. You guys randomly get at it.
Yeah, I'll start with that. So I think it really just depends on what the symptom is, right? So like one symptom that you said is you have a high flake rate. So then usually what I like to ask is, okay, well, how far out are you setting dates? Because if you're setting a date, like you're like, oh, I can't see a chick for 2 weeks. And so I set a date for 2 weeks from now, your flake rate's going to go up. The higher, the more distance you put between setting the date and actually going out on a date, the higher the flake rate goes up. Right. So if you can't actually meet her within 2 to 3 days, push it out. Don't even set that date. And what I usually tell guys is like, hey, if you're that busy, or if she's that busy, for instance, right? Because sometimes chicks are like, oh, I'm going to Florida and I won't be available for 2 weeks. Be like, okay, well, when are you coming back? And they'll say, oh, I'm coming back on this date. Be like, okay, cool. Well, I'll reach out then and see what your availability is. Set a calendar reminder and then get the fuck off the dating app and stop chatting. Okay, move on to the next chick. You need to be spinning plates and not putting all your fucking eggs in one basket, right? So if that's your problem, it's probably because you're setting dates too far in advance, oftentimes. But it really just depends on what the symptom is.
Yeah, Paul, have you run into this situation, or any of you guys, where, guys will watch this content, they'll get at it, they'll start to date, but they really develop expectations, or what we would call my standards, and they're they're too high. They're average dudes, man. They're
Mm.
average dudes, and if they can even get an average chick to respond, being an average dude that has an expectation that he's something different, because a lot of the motivational guys will do what we said, you know, tell yourself you're a below average god amongst men, this and that for motivation. That's great. But what is your suggestion to these guys that aren't getting the dates, but they're just average dudes, but you listen to their expectations and it's like, shit. Obviously,
I got one in one
tap
group.
here and there. What do they do?
Go ahead, AJ.
I got a guy in one of the groups that splintered off from MLD. That was kind of that way. Definitely had a superiority complex, and I used actually like what you and Wraith did a lot in MLD's seminars when the guys were asking the questions. He used a lot of that to question and be like, dude, chill out, step back. You need to, unfortunately for his case, he needs to go get the slump buster to get used to dealing with women. He's setting his standard way too high. He's up in the Pacific Northwest, and yes, the Pacific Northwest cold shoulder is a thing when it comes to dealing with women up there. I dealt with it when I lived up there for 10 years. But it's like, you need to step back, take a realistic look at yourself, and then adjust accordingly. And you need to get yourself out there, not be like, I'm only talking to 7s and above. No, go talk to the 3, go talk to the 4, go talk to the 5. Get used to talking to women. That way, when it comes time to talk to the 7, 8, or 9, 10, you're not gonna fuck up and not gonna look like a retard.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Like even Justin Waller dances with everybody, and he's freaking Chad.
You know, it's a skill and it's a Lego skill. I mean, you have to learn how to be comfortable with the dumpster rhinos. And you have to be able to chase the dumpster rhinos, because one good thing about the dumpster rhinos is there's always followed by some very nice prey that you'd be very interested in. So if you get them on your side in a social group, if you can remember they used to have, what was it? The pickup artist would always say there's a mother hen that's kind of destroying everybody's chances with all the girls. And if you could kind of get on her side, which is Justin Waller's approach a lot of times too. I mean, been with him and it works well. And I would use it myself just to be social. You get them on your side, and the next thing you know, the attention's all coming your way, because the mother hen gatekeeper dumpster rhino has opened the gate for you and essentially has given you an unwritten endorsement. That's a piece that I think guys have an extremely hard time getting past, because, man, what if I dance with this dumpster rhino? What if I do this? Somebody's going to watch. It'll be all over the internet. This is fucked. I can't do that. My standards are way too high. My morals will not allow me to do
treat
it.
all women the same. You got to treat all women the same. It's one thing I learned from Corey Wayne. Mike, you wanted to say something?
Yes, because I see what Thor is getting at here. Correct, Paul, Thor, correct me if I'm wrong. When it comes to social proof and pre-selection, women don't look at it the way we think they do all the time, right? So what the guy who doesn't understand will think is, well, if I flirt with or associate with or dance with fat, ugly chick, then hot chicks will think that I can only get fat, ugly chicks, then I won't be able to get with hot chicks. No, that's not right. The pre-selection works differently. The hot chick sees that you can pull women, period. And then
intersexual combat.
And then that makes her like, well, yeah, Kathy's nice and all, but she's a fat bitch. I don't want her to have him.
You got to get.
That's what it comes down to. It comes down to competition, because she's like, why is he all interested in this fat chick? I'm over here. I'm this hot thing.
I'm gonna
and
go
now the competition comes into play, and that's how it works.
Weaponizing stoicism.
Yeah, you got to get an attitude of gratitude when it comes to the women, and like Paul says, all of them, because you got to start thinking, if you're having strikeouts like that all the time, is, man, you know, you're always a winner with milk taco donut. So
this is something that I see a lot with guys, is that they find the red pill information, and then they basically get they want to have those standards, and they change their standards in their head, but as you guys mentioned before, they don't actually do the proper Lego steps to level up. Yeah. And so they have this, they become delusional, like a lot of these women are, and they don't even realize it sometimes. Like quite often, in fact, I've had to actually permanently ban guys out of the Freshman Discord because they literally could not get out of their own fucking head on this shit. Right? Literally got mid girls throwing themselves at him, and he's like saying, "Oh, I'm only gonna tolerate a 10," but then it's always, "Oh, woe is me, I'm always leveling and never arriving." Right? It's always an excuse.
I'll say this: you can have anything in this world that you want, but you have to become the man that would have those things. So you could have a 9s and 10s, but you have to be the kind of man that would attract 9s and 10s. That being said, what a lot of guys do when they're saying, I only date 9s and 10s, bro, is they use that as a fucking cope. And they use it as a cope so that they never actually go out and fucking talk to anybody.
Well, if you only date 9s and 10s, where are they?
Well,
that's the thing. They build a barrier for themselves. They actually don't realize that they're self-sabotaging by creating an impossible standard and then quitting on that impossible standard.
That's
right.
That's exactly what I was trying to coach that individual.
They never get to a place where they're actually going out with 9s and 10s, and it keeps them in a safe place where they don't actually have to talk to women. So if you really want to get to that level where you actually learn how to be the attractive guy that would attract 9s and 10s, you have to get out there and start talking to women in general. And you got to break your addiction to superficial beauty to do that. And you got to understand that there's more to women than just physical beauty, because physical beauty does fade over time. And if your goal eventually is to get married and live happily ever after, you got to understand your girl is not going to be that perfect 24-year-old looking chick forever, right? So beauty fades, but being bitchy and insufferable is forever. So you've got to learn like that there's other things that are important, right? Like, are they nurturing? Are they kind? Are they loving? Right? And so you gotta look at it like this, like Dr. Glover told me, right? You gotta look at it like this. When you go to a mechanic, do you go to the mechanic with the best looking ass, or do you go to the mechanic that can fix your fucking car? Right?
Why not both? No, Sydney Sweeney. Does Hawk Tua fix cars?
Right, Hawk Tua chick.
Oh, she's got that southern accent. She definitely fixes cars.
See, this is where a lot of guys have what I call the PUA problems, where they can get sex, but they can't really get or maintain a real relationship. Why? Because they figured out how to fake it, but they didn't fake those traits with the intent to become those things. They faked it with the intent of just getting sex, right? And then they assume that a relationship's going to follow that, not realizing that's a whole nother set of skills that you have to maintain. Once again, in a relationship, you have to maintenance that thing, right? I did maintenance work for many years, right? That's the thing, is that maintenance work comes down to repetition, and it makes it where you don't have to clean up a huge mess every single time if you consistently clean up the small messes over and over again and create a system, right? It's the same thing with a relationship. You have to build that system and maintain it, and if you don't, the relationship will suffer. And a lot of guys never build the true foundational, they don't build the foundation. I've used the analogy about the house building rather than the Legos, right? But you have to build the foundation. A lot of guys won't even put the foundation flat piece down for the Lego, and they assume they can build this castle, but you literally are lacking the foundation, so you're wondering why the pieces are sliding around. You can't build it.
You know why, Viking? Because the foundation is dirty and boring and looks like work.
Yep, exactly.
The thing is, you also get a lot of guys coping too, where they're like, well, that just sounds exhausting. That sounds like a lot of work.
Welcome to being a man.
Oh yeah, you hear that all the time from the guys like, oh, I wouldn't possibly think of dating multiple women. That just sounds like a nightmare. I could handle one, but 2, 3, that sounds ridiculous. It's like, well, if you can handle one, you can handle more than that.
What they don't understand though is that once you do the work and you build that foundation, it becomes effortless because you become the game. It becomes a part of who you are naturally, and you just naturally do the shit. You don't have to think about it. It's not work. It actually is fun, you know? My relationship with Nurshik is fun. It's not fucking work at all.
It's effortless now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because all you got to do is do the daily maintenance routine that you've constructed out of your own positive habits. And she sees that. And the thing is that I know Myron talks shit about women cohabitating. They were just talking about this last night on the podcast, women cohabitating. The thing is that you can cohabitate with a woman, no problem, if you don't have cracks showing. That's the thing, is that you can't be letting those little things slide that drive women nuts. In Myron's case, I'm just going to say it. His issue is that he rages way too much on the fucking video game, which I know is going to cause problems in his relationship, which means that any woman that he's trying to deal with, when she sees him do these things, is going to get turned off by that, right? Which is going to make it more difficult for him to cohabitate with a woman in general, just on that one metric alone. right? I know this because I used to be a game rager as well, and I suffered this problem. And I've seen other guys in the Discord suffer this problem where they get engaged with too much online drama, and it turns their woman off and makes her feel like, oh, why is this dude wasting time arguing with people on the internet? He must be a fucking loser. And people don't realize that that's actually a metric that you're advertising with that behavior. And so cohabitating, yeah, it's going to be a problem. But if you understand this and you control yourself and minimize that sort of emotional outburst and regulate yourself, then you can cohabitate without an issue because you are maintaining those habits that earn a relationship that's actually solid. But I digress.
Yeah, I've
That
noticed
kind of goes
that
back
in this
to
community
reading.
as well.
Sorry, go ahead, Thor.
In this community as well, what we're talking about, the guys that have these high failure rates and things like that, and bring it back and back and back, is this leads to a pretty dark place. They develop Dunning-Kruger effect. You guys know what that is, right? It's kind of a cope that's gone haywire. And you guys probably all see this, but it's basically what happens is they don't recognize their poor performance when it's qualitatively measured against those that are performing well in an equal class and or structure. It's like, I'm doing all the right things, yet everybody else says this is right. And taken to the next level, these guys are so sure they're doing it right and that everybody else is against them. They actually become really upset by it, but then they start to cover it with, it's not me, it's them.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
They point the finger at everybody else.
It doesn't go to a good place,
Too stupid to know that you're stupid.
Well, Dunning-Kruger effect essentially boils down to you don't know what you don't know, and
but
that's
you're
where
very confident
people,
about what you don't know.
Yeah, that's where usually the most ignorant people are usually going to be the most insanely confident in what they're capable of because they literally have no context to defraud, show that that's wrong, right? Whereas you see this with a lot of very competent individuals, they're usually going to be very humble and they're going to downplay their skill because they know have some significant concept of what they don't know, and so they have some humility about it, like, okay, well, I know a lot about it, but I still think I could screw up. And these are why these people are so confident, is that they're able to get stuff done because they question themselves first rather than constantly questioning others. This is a common mistake that everybody has, that they're so distracted by all the external that they do not address themselves. I feel victim of this. I've seen plenty of guys falling victim.
That's pretty common in our space. And it's kind of easy to tell when someone is actually asking for your advice on this thing where the flake rate is high and I'm not getting here and there. You will hear things that should spark your interest. Well, if this is Dunning-Kruger, he's going to need help in a different way. It may be gone too far, but you're going to ask him, okay, well, how have you done with women in the past? Oh, this is a new thing. I've always had women. Women come. It's been easy for me all along. My whole life is super easy. There's edges of Dunning-Kruger there when you hear that from anybody, because
you see this sorry, sir.
Yeah, the naturals that get women throwing themselves at everybody. I mean, we know the percentage; it's under 4. So yeah, that's they hold themselves in that regard, and if you listen long enough, they're going to attack the system that they're using because it's not working for them.
And Paul at AJ will know about this. You see this in IT a lot as well. It's the guy who knows enough, what we call it, enough to be dangerous, where they know just enough computer or technology stuff to break everything, but think that they're fixing it. They are very dangerous people to have access to your systems.
Most data center security guards, I would say, are that people. They have access. They know enough. Definitely screw some shit up.
Yeah.
No data center company in particular, of course.
Of course. Oh, they're all the same. They're all.
I'm just saying, in general, the security officers are the scariest people I've had to work with.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap up here, guys. We're almost at an hour and a half.
Straight.
I'll go ahead and take cameras here. Let's go ahead and start with Tarl. What are your closing thoughts on this, and what do you got going on, man?
Well, right now, in terms of what I got going on, I'm trying to, grow my channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please, head over there and give me a subscribe, get my numbers up, trying to get monetized, like the crew's been talking about. And in terms of final thoughts, like I said, I deal with this all the time where a lot of guys just don't understand, like they won't even understand, like they'll say, oh, I'm going to get in shape as soon as I hit the gym, but then they won't even talk about anything about like proper calorie control and food consumption. right? And so I'll immediately like redirect guys like, well, you haven't even started where you need to start. You need to start with your calorie control first, right? Because abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. You know, like you actually have to do physical work, right? You know, but you need to be fueling yourself correctly, right? It's a two-part equation, like that you need to be doing both correctly in order to get results, and you got to start with how you're fueling yourself first. And a lot of guys will just sit there and say, well, I'll get to the food part when I start working out. And it's just like, well, you're already setting yourself up for failure because you're doing it in the wrong order. You've got to calorie control first. So it comes down to the same thing with a lot of these game tactics and stuff like that. A lot of guys are simply not laying the groundwork they need and, you know, deciding what they want, reverse engineering the steps they need to take to get there, and then step by step, one Lego brick at a time, building that castle, right? That's the thing. Like, I haven't made changes overnight with, you know, the studio that I have and all the changes I've made, all the networking I've done. It didn't happen overnight. It's coming up on 5 years now, right? This is something that I started doing back in 2020, and just every day I try to line up at least 1 to 3 other bricks every single day, so that way I get further ahead. And this is where I've gotten to the point where people are going like, damn, Viking, that's amazing studio you have there. I could never do something like that. Just like, well, that used to be me. I used to think I could never build a studio like this, but now I can. Why? Because I built it brick by brick, step by step, and I did it in the right order. So just got to, if you can make it by faking it, but you have to go in with the actual intent to become something more.
If you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Mike, what's going on, brother?
Just had a wonderful solstice yesterday. Didn't sacrifice any virgins, but was definitely took full advantage of the longest day of the year. Not a whole lot going on right now. Just you know, in a lot of work projects. You know, have my time. But I just wanted to swing by today and thank Huds for the invite, and Hawk Tua to everyone. Hawk Tua.
AJ, what do you got going on?
So I mentioned earlier, I'm in the middle of doing my promotion interview, and with that, I would not be doing that interview if it wasn't for finding this space. A lot of people come to this space to figure out how to fix their relationships, how to get the girl. The beautiful thing about the red pill in general, and Ryan kind of commented on this when I posted about it about a month ago, the availability that it gives you to become assertive enough to create the life that you want to live, but you need to take those steps. I made my mistakes in the beginning. Like, I went full Rambo at one point with my ex. Not a good idea, but it's one of those things. Like, if it wasn't for the coaching through Thor, or MLD, or hell, even Paul, and I've taken some of Paul's courses, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I would not be pushing for another 20 to 40K a year on top of my current already good salary. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. I do plan on starting Intergame July here next month for my 4th year, which is MLD's little thing. Finished like 3 or 4 books, no negative people, no eating out unless work related, kind of stuff like that. It's there to help reground my mindset. I will be doing a review of Paul's newest course here once I get to that during Intergame July, as well as doing a review of Dread and a few other books. I plan on reading No More Mr. Nice Guy again, and then you'll see me bounce around on Vince's channel.
All right. Let me, I'll go ahead and say my stuff, and then we can have the God Amongst Men close us out. I got a quote for you guys. I'm reading this book. It's very esoteric, woo-woo, but I'm into the woo-woo. It's called The Kybalion, and the quote is, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, which goes back to you don't know what you don't know. But when you're ready to learn it, you know, we're all here. We're all here to help you out. I do have a new course. We played a commercial for that earlier. It's my basic diet and fitness mini course. It's a very short, very affordable course. If you need to lose some weight, need to get your diet in check. I talk about all that, and I make it simple. I try to make it as simple as possible to give you a good foundation to start on that. So check that out. Links in the chat. Otherwise, tune into the podcast Monday. We're going to be talking about how to catch your girl cheating. Otherwise, here's Thor.
Awesome show today, guys. And Mike Steele, I like the Hawaiian shirt and those aviator glasses. It's perfect for us, you understand. So for me, guys, just check out my website, becomedurable.com, especially if it struck a chord with you about a woman's ability to hold a grudge or be vengeful. That's just a small piece, but it's super important to foundationally, you know, acquiring the cardinal rule. And if you want to know more about that, head over to becomedurable.com and take a look at the principles of a successful long-term relationships. It applies even to dating. If you take a look there, that would be very useful. There's comprehensive lists with primary examples of behaviors that would fall into the liability category. You hear a lot of folks talking now is don't marry someone that has a lot of liabilities. You want them with assets. Well, I call it usefulness. You know, what is their usefulness or their added value? And a lot of guys can say, oh, well, she's nice. That's a value. Well, what's the real world example of her being nice? You know, and so I described that in a 2-hour video lecture. And by the way, all the prices on those have been slashed in half. So super cheap. You can go and check that out. It was developed over many years. So I invite you to do that. With that, I'm going to take us out, guys. So here we go. Appreciate everybody showing up, especially our audience is amazing. So here we go. Skull.